Yep, I've said it. This thing, 300 pages on nothing but words upon words, will save your life. And I mean that in many senses. I mean that physically, spiritually, mentally, intellectually, socially, sexually. Of course, when I say books will save your life, I don't mean that it will cure you from cancer, save you from an earthquake, give you CPR when you need it. But what books can do is that it will transform you into a completely different person. And more accurately, transform you into what you are capable of becoming. And I will tell you how. If you are living life passively, ending each day with a feeling of regret, as if you haven't done enough, the world and everything in it sucks, your life has no purpose, I have to ask you a very important question. And when I ask this question, I say it unashamedly and honestly, friend to friend, brother to brother. If you feel any of those feelings above, what are you doing about it? And now I'll pause awkwardly for 3 seconds, like Dora the Explorer waiting for the kid to point excitedly at the TV as they answer the question. That's right, if you can't think of anything, that means that you're not doing enough about it. And if you did think of something but you're thinking of 1000 excuses or why that something didn't work, chances are you are not doing very much about it either. Not many people ask themselves what are they doing to improve their lives for the better, and instead they bear the suffering of the world in the most destructive ways possible. They drink or smoke themselves into a permanent state of drunkenness in an attempt to numb the pain. They blame everything and everyone but themselves. Instead of taking responsibility, they say the world is unfair and it should just go to hell. They distract themselves with games, clubs, social media, food, porn, just at the right time before they break down into madness. And all of those responses to the suffering of life is justified, because living is suffering. Whatever we do, we have to deal with disease, pain, natural disasters, and on top of all of those things that we cannot control, we also have to deal with human beings. What other people do and say and feel just multiplies our suffering. The mean words they say, the murdering and scandals you hear about in the news, the feelings they hurt. If you are suffering so much, no wonder you're addicted to 21 different things. But it is not sustainable. Like, even you know it yourself. All of that only multiplies our suffering. I mean, yeah, it was fun when you went for it, but the fun ends. And after the fun ends, you crash. And the crash makes life difficult. And so you immerse yourself more and more into these vices, crashing harder and harder each time. And when life gets painful, you turn to the only thing that has been keeping you alive. The distractions, the addictions. But they are like drinking poison. They don't kill you now, but they will kill you later. And that pain is not just like a dull pain in your ankle. It is like a stab wound. It is like curing a headache with a hammer to the head. Like, for a while the adrenaline keeps you from feeling any pain, but soon the adrenaline like goes away and you end up with more than just a headache. And this is where the books come in. Life gives us a lot of difficult questions. Why must I suffer? How can I be a better person? How do I stop destroying myself? And books give answers. It is not like a Quora or Reddit forum where some guy on the internet gives you advice. No, each book is years, decades, centuries of collective knowledge condensed in such a way that propose an answer to your big questions. And the older the book, the richer the knowledge you can gain from it. After all, the books lasted until now for a good reason. And I'm not just encouraging you to read books like self-help or psychology books. No, the best books will save your life in a massive way, even if it is sci-fi, even if it's a children's book, even if it is a fantasy book. All of those books have the potential to change your life in some way. Every time you pick up and read a book and genuinely learn something from it, you gain wisdom that took somebody 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of their lives trying to figure out. All of that in just 1 week of reading the book cover to cover. So if you read 100 books, that is like 1000 years of wisdom. If you just learn one thing from one book, after 100 books, you learn 100 different things. And books don't have to answer life questions too. If you want to become smarter at something, books help there also. Like, you want to learn how to cook? Yeah, there are books for that. Want to learn how to clean? There are books for that. Want to learn how to stop being a socially inept human being who only wishes to be locked up forever in the dark closet? There are books for that. So when I asked you earlier in this video, what are you doing about your life? I have to admit, I don't really have a proper answer for that. That is like asking me what's the real 5 Nights at Freddy's law. Like, that question is just way too complex. But I know from experience of reading books and working hard to get myself out of a rut, out of my bad habits and self-destruction, I know that even if you have no idea how to improve your life, the least that you can do is just to pick up a book and read it. Because surely, reading just 1 page a day is better than getting drunk on a weekend night, or wasting 12 hours playing League of Legends only to be hard stuck in Emerald 3, or spending 40 hours a week on TikTok, letting your brain rot till there's like nothing of it left. Yes, reading one page a day will get you further than doing all of those things at once. Just reading one book is pretty good, but of course, it will not save your life and transform you into like a superhuman hawk person who can carry the weight of the world and its suffering on his shoulders like Atlas. But what great books can do is to teach you how to be a more useful human being. It provides you just an inch of what a more meaningful and purposeful life will look like. Even storybooks like novels and fantasy can teach lessons through the struggles of like the characters in the book, or the conflicts they go through and how they resolve it. Great books give you the courage to overcome the world despite all of its suffering. And the more you read, the more you learn and come to terms with the world that we are in. We begin to recognize that there is a greater life than what we have been doing before. We will also recognize that there are some really remarkable, beautiful things in our world that was right in front of us all this time, yet we were just blinded by our own nihilism, our own belief that the world is unfair and bound for destruction. We begin to take our lives much more seriously. We begin to be a part of a cause bigger than ourselves, and that even if we are stuck in a rut, perseverance and courage will get us out of it. We begin to recognize that though life is tragic, it is the tragedy that makes everything beautiful. Just like how a world without shadows makes all things lose depth, a world without suffering makes the wrestling match between you and your best possible self meaningless. So keep wrestling, keep reading more books, and bit by bit, save your life. This is the end of the video, but I'm just going to spit fire a whole lot of examples and just one lesson out of many lessons you can take away from reading some of the books that I wrote this year. Atomic Habits by James Clear, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Dear Life by Rachel Clark, Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami, No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, Art of War by Sun Tzu, 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, Experts by Roger Kneebone, Taking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.